All right, so this is where we are right now. You'll notice that I have adjusted my stitching yet again, just because I kind of obsess over this stuff, and removed some of the stitching down in here. Just from looking at different images of the actual boots, they do have this little line of stitching here, so I figured I'd throw it in, no biggie. Um, these stitches here should have been single stitches, but I'm not gonna go back and fix those, so whatever. It is what it is. So this is what we have so far. It's actually looking pretty good, I think. Um, what we need to do, of course, now is the old tread here. There's not as much detail as I'd like. If you remember in the scan, there's actually like ridges in here and things like that. There's a logo in here. I am going to remove that logo just because I don't want to infringe on somebody's copyright, whatever. And I'm going to replace it with the logo that we have right here. So if you remember back, I think in episode 12, we projected a normal map from the scan right in Maya. I tried that again this time, and it worked, but it took like 3 hours. Um, Not really sure why. This computer is actually pretty new. It's got two NVIDIA RTX 2080 Ti's in it, and 120 gigs of RAM. It's got 32 core, 64 threads. There's no reason it should have taken that long. And while it was running, I looked at the CPU and memory usage, and they were very low, almost non-existent. So I'm not sure what. I think it's just an old, and it's in the rendering menu, lighting, shading. It's this transfer maps tool here that I used. It's just not efficient. And then the other issue is that because our boots. So let me go back to this version. Yeah. Because our boots, the tread, if we select the tread and open up our UV editor, if you remember, because we are using UDIMs, the UVs are in the third tile, and that tool is expecting the UVs to be in the first tile. And so when you run it the first time, it generates a blank UV map, because a blank normal map, because the UVs are not here. So we have to devise a way to shift the UVs over. Now we can't just take these and shift them over, because if they don't line up perfectly in this tile as they do in this tile, meaning that the UVs need to be in the exact same spot in the 0 to 1 tile for this to work. You can't just randomly shift it over, because you're not going to get it perfect. So I had to use a bit of a hack to do that. If we come in here to UV sets, actually before I even do that, I'm going to, with both my tread pieces selected, I'm just going to combine them into a single one. This is temporary, just for this. Okay, so now we have our tread here, and if we go into UV sets, we have a map 1 UV set. That's the default UV set. So we're going to have to use UV sets to do this hack so that we can project the textures in this tile, which can then be reapplied to that tile. So I'm going to create an empty UV set, and you'll see it's called UV set. If I click on it, there's nothing in there. There's no UVs. Okay, so we need a copy. So go back to map 1. I'm going to copy UVs to UV set. So since I'm in map 1, they're going to get copied to the UV set, the new one. So if I click on that, you'll see now I'm in UV set and I have UVs. And if I take these and move them, you can see that if I go back to map 1, I'm still maintaining my original UVs. Now, that's all well and good. Now we can move these around freely. Notice I'm only moving on this axis, so I don't have any up and down. But there's no way I can eyeball where this is in this tile in relation to this tile. So the way that I had to get around that was to, if you remember earlier, I exported the UV snapshots for all the UDIMs, and where'd that go? So what I get is this right here, and all of these are the different UV maps for the different tiles. So all I need to do then is load the one up for the tread. So if I select this, and I'm just going to assign a new material here, just Lambert, whatever, and I'm going to apply that UV map as a color map. So let's go in there, go to File, and let's go find that image, which is, I believe, this guy right here. So let's open that up. So that applies that as a color map. So the advantage of that, of course, is if I select my tread now, that color map, if I activate this button right here, that color map is now shown here. Okay, and that's a perfect guide for us. So if I go to UV set and see how close I got, see, I'm off, and this would be a lot. So I had to do it this way. So now if I select my UVs here, if I activate this axis and just zoom in real close here and slide this over until I am pretty much dead on. Is it going to be 100% perfect? No, but it'll be close enough that it won't matter. Okay, so now I can be sure that my UVs in tile 1 are in almost pretty 99.99% the same spot as they are in tile 3 when I'm using map 1. Okay, so we got to use this little hack. So I'm going to activate this UV set. And now if I was going to do that tool to do my transfer maps, I could project this and not get a blank UV map. I'd get it to actually work. But again, this tool is not exactly great. So I'm going to do it in ZBrush instead. Okay, so what I need to do then is I need to bring in my scan. Okay, so I'm just going to import that scan, which is right here. Continue. Okay, so here's my scan right here. Okay, so very, very high resolution, really heavy. So this is about 1.8 million polygons. And if I mirror it over, I'm going to have quite a lot of polygons. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to go into face mode. Then I'm going to come into my side view here. Let's zoom out. Come into my side view, and I'm going to select all those faces there. Now it's going to take a second for that to be selected. So let's give it a second. There we go. As you can see that it's selected all that. And I'm making sure that I'm not selecting any of the tread polygons. Then I'm going to hit delete. And again, it's going to take a bit of a second here to go through that. It's going to delete those faces. Okay, so now I have a shoe. Again, making sure that I did not delete any of this. If you wanted to be more efficient with it, you could even come in here and start painting a selection. You know, kind of unnecessary, but if you feel you need to, go ahead. So now if I show my grid here, remember when I mirrored this boot over to here, I used the origin point here as my center point. So I'm going to hold down D and X. D is pivot mode, X is grid snapping. And why isn't that working? Let's try again. D and X, there we go. And I'm going to snap my pivot to the center of the grid here. Then I'm going to simply Control D to duplicate that and set a scale X to -1. Okay, so now it's got it made a copy, and you can see this copy is sitting perfectly in with the other boot. So I can take both these scans, and just for this, I'm going to combine them into one mesh. And this is going to take a second. There we go. I'm going to delete history just to get rid of that. So now I have my tread and I have my scan. So I'm going to export both of these separately. So I'm going to export the scan as one thing. I'm going to export the tread as one thing, and I'm going to bring those into ZBrush. So right here in ZBrush, I'm going to import, and let's go ahead. I'm going to go find those two pieces. So let's see. Go my scenes folder and my boots folder, and let's bring in the tread first. And you know, sometimes you get some of these. I might have an end gone or two in there, no biggie. So let's bring that in, draw it out, then hit T to go into edit mode. And I don't know what I did there. Oh, hold on. Okay, oh, I see. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So there's my tread, low resolution. It's only about 15,000 faces or points. And then I'm going to, select something else. No, I don't want that. Let's just select this polymesh here. I'm going to import my scan. So let's give that a second. So there's my scan right there. I'm going to go back to my tread, go into subtool, and I'm going to append my scan tread as a subtool. Now, notice that my low resolution tread is up top and my scan is below that. For this to work, you have to have it like that. So you could just simply drag up if you're not already in that order. Okay, so now I gotta remind myself of ZBrush navigation here. Okay, so you can see the low res scan is a lighter red color, and that's the layer that is active. Make sure you have that subtool selected. So first thing we want to do is come here to project, and we're going to project all the details onto that low res mesh. You see that you saw some things change when I did that. So I need to keep subdividing to like get to a decently high polygon count to be able to project all those details onto that low resolution mesh. So Control D to subdivide once, and then hit project all again, and watch, you see how it's now fitting closer. Control D to subdivide again, and this is our poly count that's increasing as we go. So we're at 247,000. I'm going to project all again, and it projects. You can see now it's fitting even closer. Control D to subdivide. I'm at 987, and project all. And it's going to take a little bit longer now because we're using way more polygons. Is that done? Yep, it's done. Control D to subdivide again, 3.94 million, and project all. And again, it's got to go through and do all that stuff. It takes a minute. Okay, so we're at it again. So I'm going to subdivide one more time. Control D, and it's going to subdivide to 15.7 million. Okay, that's as high as I'm going to go. And the reason I do it this high is just to grab as much of that detail as I possibly can. So this time I'm going to hit project all, and I'm going to pause the video because it's going to take quite a bit longer. So I'm going to hit project all, and I'll be right back. And we're done. So now if I hide my scan, this is what I'm left with here. This is what started out as a low resolution mesh, but at 15.7 million with all those projections, you can see that it's a pretty darn good copy of, it's actually higher resolution now than the scan itself is. So if we go to the scan layer, that's only 1.635 million, and our tread layer is actually 15.73. So it's really holding that detail very well. Okay, so now that's done, you'll notice some of these little jagged areas right here. Those are not a big deal. Those will actually fall outside our UV map, so they're not going to affect our tread. So with that done, I can shut my subtool palette here and go into my geometry palette. And right now I'm at level 6. I'm going to go back down to level 1. So we're back to what we started with here. And then I can come down here to UV map, and I'm going to set my UV map size to 4096 because I am working at 4K. And then I can come to normal map, and we can do a create normal map. This has to be at level 1 or some level lower than the top level. Okay, so that's why I dropped this down. It's going to calculate all that, and you'll see the normal map pop in here in a second. And there it is right there. If I hover over it, you can see it. You'll see that it's actually upside down, but we'll fix that in a second. Clone normal map. We'll put it here. Go to texture. Now it's there. We need to, again, if you look at it, you'll see that it's the toes are facing down where they should be facing up. I'm just going to flip it in V, flip vertically. And now you'll see that it's actually facing the right way. And do an export. And then save it off to wherever you need to save it off. So that's a quick, easy way to do your normal maps. If you don't have ZBrush, you can still use the other way, but it does take a minute. This is a little faster to work with. So that is how we do that. Okay, so I'm going to shut ZBrush now because I've already projected my maps. So, so let's look at what we get out of ZBrush. So let's see here. Where did I save that? Here we go. So this is what we get. We get a decent looking normal map here. You can see the little logo in there. So what I'm going to do is just bring this into Photoshop here. So let's open Photoshop and let's bring this map in here, and then we can bring this here, and I'm going to sample this neutral blue here. So that'll be my paint color, and you can get my paintbrush, and we can just real quick paint out this logo here. And let's do the same on this side. Okay, and if you want to clean up the different things, you can do that. Let's get real careful though, because that might start to screw with your normal. So maybe I'll leave that. I don't know. I don't. Well, maybe not this part. You could try using the clone brush as well to try to fix that, but just be careful with it. Okay, so let's say we're good with that. I'm just going to save this off here, and so call this tread normal. And anytime you do with TIFF, I don't want any compression. I don't need any layers. I don't have any layers, so this is grayed out. So hit OK. Okay, so now we're done here. So let's go into substance. So here are the boots thus far. What we need to do is bring that normal map into here so that we can actually apply it. So if I go into my boots here, and let's see. Okay, where did I put that? There it is. So if I drag that in here, I just tell it to use that as a texture and import it into my project, boots. So I'll bring it in, and there it is selected. Now that it's in the project, if I go to my texture set settings, right here where it says normal, you remember when we baked the mesh maps at the beginning? It also baked in the normals, but there's probably not much going on in this normal map. So we can replace this normal map with our tread normal map right here. So click on that, and immediately you can see how much nicer this looks. You can see that logo is now gone. So then we can put whatever we want in there. Okay, so let's close this. Now I already worked a little bit on the texture here, so I'll show you what I did. So if I come here to materials, there's a material on there called plastic grainy. It started out black, so if I bring this up here, I'll show you what I did here. So it starts out looking like that, which is not very nice. We're going to turn off metallic. So first thing I'm going to do is come up here to scale and increase this scale in an effort to, here, let's turn this off. Here we go. So you can see that you just make these bumps a little bit smaller, just adds a little texture to that. And then for the color, I just sort of experimented with colors till I had something that I liked. Let's see, let's go make it in the brown range. Okay, so you start to get something. You probably don't want it to be too shiny, so I'm going to drop the roughness a little bit. Okay, so that's sort of your base color. You can pick whatever color you want. I went with sort of a brownish. This was my color here. You can mess with the... So, and then I added a fill layer that's just this sort of light brown dirt color. Oh, we're saving right now, so now I gotta wait, and it takes forever, as you know, but oh no, we're done. Okay, so I just made this little dirt color here, and here, let's turn this off so we can see that color just by itself. Let me shift my lighting here. There we go. So it's just a dirt color, and then let's turn the mask on. I just threw in a couple masks in here. I went to the smart mask and actually combined multiple masks with different blending modes. So I did a linear dodge for this one so that it wouldn't just overwrite the one underneath. So we get this sort of splattered dirt like mud underneath here. So you can see what's happening there. So you can use multiple masks from the smart mask and then just adjust the blending modes to get them to work together. And then I made another layer. Again, let's toggle my mask off here, and let's turn this off. So that's a slightly darker brown. And then again, I just put another mask on there that added a little bit more dirt. And for both these layers, I actually came in here. Make sure we have some height in both of those layers. And that's going to give the dirt a little bit of extra dimension to it. And again, in both layers, my roughness, I turned that up a little bit just to give it a little, get that dirt to pop a little bit. Okay. Now, obviously, if the sole is this dirty, we have to then transfer some of this noise into the actual shoe itself. Okay. So this one I don't need. So that is, I'm going to call this mud. And I put in a folder just so that it's easy to close it there. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy my mud folder, and I'm going to go to the UDIM for this shoe here. And this one, I'm not going to put in these masked off folders. I'm going to put this above that so it affects the whole, everything that's on this UDIM. So look at that. Just immediately, we get a kind of muddy shoe. Obviously, that's too much. So what we're going to do, the problem is our mask is not really accurate. So, well, let's see. Let's see if we just use it as is. So if I go on this one right here, top-down gradient. So let's decrease that. Let's go in here and drop our global balance here so that the mud is sort of lower down. Let's go in the grunge map here, and we're going to lower this guy down a little bit. I may have to just adjust these masks because I think it's overpowering the shoe. Let's go to this layer here, go in this mask editor, and what do we want to do here? Let's drop the global balance. Yeah, I'm going to have to adjust. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is let's just clear this mask and clear this mask. Okay, and then we don't need the plastic grainy. Actually, you know what? That might have been the problem. Let's delete the plastic grainy because we don't need that one. That was the actual plastic of the shoe. So let's just remove layer. Okay, this is looking better. Yeah, so that was the issue. So we got some of this dirt. I think we need more here. And we're getting this weird artifacting here, but that's probably because this mask isn't right. So we may have to get rid of that anyway, but let's see. So if we increase the top ground gradient, yeah, so I'm just going to clear these. I guess I am going to just clear them. So for this one, let's start with this one here. Again, what did I use? I used ground dirt, I think. So you can see what that does. You're dirtier down below than up top. So let's go into the mask editor here. And what am I looking for? Texture. So this one, let's increase texture too. Okay, maybe not. There we go. There we go. That's what we want. So you can see we have some dirt up there, but most of it is down closer to the foot. So if you've been splashing in mud or whatever, that kind of makes sense. So yeah, we don't really want to blur that. You know, I don't want to eat up too much of our detail in here. Let's see the other side. But that's actually pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Let's just adjust this balance a little bit. And you could always add a paint layer, just paint some of this down if you want to. Okay, so let's go on our grunge map here. So the grunge map is all this stuff up top here. I mean, it's all over the shoe, but it's you can see it up there. So I like that there's some splatter that got that high. So, you know, you can increase the balance if you really want to dirty up the shoe. Probably don't want it that dirty. So something like that. Okay, and let's do this guy here. I think I used, so there's ground dirt, there's dirt ground. Let's try dirt ground on there. And let's see what that gives us. If I go in the mask builder, so if we increase our top ground down gradient, I don't know what this just doesn't look like it's adding too much, honestly. Let's drop our curvature, increase our grunge. Yeah, you can see it's adding something. It's adding something. So I don't know. Let's drop that grunge down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so nice thing about it, you don't like it, you can always take it off. Um, yeah, let's go with that. And again, like I said, you can always add other masks on top, so we can plug that mask in there and set it to say multiply. See what that does. So actually works pretty well. So let's go into there and texture opacity. You could literally just play with all these settings. This one's not doing too much here. So let's try instead of multiply, let's try linear dodge. Add. There we go. So subtle, but it's there. Like that. We got splatter up top here. That's actually really nice. Okay, so play with it, come up with something cool. So now we've done this to one side, we got to do it to the other side. So again, I'm going to take this mud folder, I'm going to copy it, go to this texture set. Let's close down all these, and this one goes up top here. Give it a second. Okay, so there we have the mud, and you can see it's different. It's slightly different. So again, I might have to clear my mask, or let's see if we can just adjust the random seed. I don't know if that worked on that one or not. Yeah, let's go in the mask editor. And do we have a seed value here? Let's click on that. Yeah, there we go. So now that is just randomly changed our mud. And this guy here too. Let's go in this mask builder. Random seed. You can see it is working. And then random seed on the mask editor here. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna keep adjusting this random seed because this mud just sort of stops here. I mean, I could always paint it in, but let's see if I can. Yeah, I think that feels better there. It kind of works here too. All right. Okay, so that's our muddy boots. Kind of cool. Save. Okay, let's give that a second. Okay, that's done. So I want to put that logo in down here. So I'm going to go back to, I think it's 3. Yep. I want to make a, how do I want to do this here? Should we try with a fill layer? I'm going to put this at the bottom of our stack, and it's not included in this folder. It's just its own separate fill layer. I'm going to reduce color. I'm going to get rid of color, rough, and middle. I'm going to leave normal and height. Then I'm going to do a black mask. And what I want to do is go into alphas and go find our little Texas star, as I call it, wherever that was. There it is. So if we click on that, now I'm going to, lazy mouse is still on here. So I'm going to rotate this while holding shift, and it's going to snap into place. Then I'm going to hit F6, and for some reason, let's hit F. It disappeared, but F6 makes it an orthographic view, so there's no perspective distortion. Now let's see what happens if nothing apparently. Oh, you know what? I have to. Oh, you know what? I don't want an alpha. What I want is. Or maybe. Do I want an alpha? Can I put this here and then. Nope, that does not work. Do I want an alpha? Yeah, you can tell I'm still new here. Alright, so maybe it's not here. Let's try it with a regular layer. Let's move this down to the bottom. If I do my alpha and so I only have normal selected, so let's see if this works. No, it does not. Should plug in the height. Okay, people, what's going on here? Yeah. All right. You're just gonna mess with me today, aren't you? What am I missing here? So I'm on the right texture set. And can I put this here? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All right. What if I don't have an alpha? Nope, don't want that. I do need an alpha. Okay. Oh, you know, yeah, let's raise the height. There we go. Wow. Okay. So, a lot of things to remember, of course. There we go. Now we're getting what we want here. So, let me center it better. Okay. This time I'm having it pop out, whereas before I had it go inward. So, let's do this one here as well. Okay, so little detail. Probably never see it, but something that I like. So I'm just going to call this logo. So we have a button in our logo. You see our shoes look weird because we're orthographic. Hit F5 to get back into perspective. And there we go. We got some muddy boots. Textured and ready to go. Now, for what I'm going to use this for, I'm going to put some blood splatter on the shoes. So I'm going to go to the UDIM for the top of the shoe here, and I'm going to make a new fill layer. Now you can put this above or below the mud. So if you got in a firefight and got blood splatter on your shoe and then ran in mud, you'd want the mud to be on top. If you ran in the mud and then got in a firefight after you're out of the mud, you want the blood to be on top. So, you know, it's entirely up to you. I'm going to set the base color to a red color. There's no metallic. I want color, height, roughness. Sure. So that red is obviously kind of crazy, but if you set the blending mode to multiply, now we're getting kind of bloody. Now, obviously, we don't need the entire shoe covered in blood. So I'm going to make a black mask, and I'm going to come down to brushes. Now, you might not have this brush, blood splatter. And that brush, where did I get that? I have a website somewhere. So let's go back here. I'm going to find the website that I got it from. There we go. So right here, substance share, blood splatter is the brush that I use. So that's where I got this. So I'm going to select it here. You just put it in your brushes folder. And if you then, so let's see our brush settings here. We want size, flow, angle, jitter on. That's fine. And well, before we do that, let's go into the red color here. And we want to increase that height. So let's go to 0.1. We can always adjust it later. And we'll adjust it. You know, I'm going to drop the roughness because blood tends to be very shiny. Then go back into our mask here. And if we click on there, you can see the blood. So let's do it again. So we have blood splatter. That height is a little too much, so I'm going to go 0.05. And because I lowered the roughness, you can see there's shininess to it. So let's go back here. And of course you can adjust the map size here. So now obviously the tongue being in a separate UDIM, we're going to have to go in and then add some to the tongue there. Okay, so you can decide how much of this blood you want. Entirely up to you. So let's go to the next, the other shoe. Oh, you know what? Actually, before we do that, let's go back and we're just gonna copy that blood layer. Call this blood, and just copy the whole thing. Go to 2, put it there, and paste. And I want to clear this mask so that we can just start a new one here. And again, and you can, if you want really big splats, okay, maybe not so much in the front of this shoe, maybe more. Okay, you just don't want it to be all the same. All right. And then, now what you can also do is if you go in the alphas and you get there's different droplets that you can get like this. So this one looks kind of fake and silly, but let's see if we can find something more convincing. Like sort of leakage here. Now all we need to do here is I'm going to take off all these jitters. I'll set this to 0. And I think, let's see. So if I come say this side so we can see it better, I'm going to shrink this down. And if I paint, why is it upside down? That's weird. Let's set on minimum size. Still coming in upside down. Let's turn off follow path. There we go. Now we're the right side up. Okay, so if I maybe increase this, we can get some of this blood splatter going like that. Okay, so let's find a different one. This one single leak here. Let's use that on the other shoe. So go back to 1 and go to blood. Let's put it over here. So I got this blood leak right there. Yeah, let's get our logo bloody. There we go. Maybe use a little bit more of this one here as well. I don't know. Might be a little much, but you know, these are actually pretty cool. And I'm sure if you go online, you could probably find more splatter alphas. So I think that's probably all we have by default. There's this big one right here, which again, you know, you could rotate a little bit, but that might be a little much there. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to use that one. I might have to rotate this back. I don't know. That one seems a little crazy. I don't know. Oh yeah, there we go. There's some other presets here that you can use. Yeah, why not? That's pretty good. What's this one? Whoa. Yeah, I like that. Let's go back to 2. Here. That's pretty cool. So let me angle jitter this So it's not exactly the same orientation as the other one. Then the tongues, which are in 12, no, 13. Here we go. So let's do the same thing here. I think that is still in my... And if you want, you can also add the mud to the tongue, but I think I'm good there. So here again, we can start to put in some of that blood. And we're going to have to do it on the laces too. So do that one, then maybe do some of this one. And there's actually some really nice droplets. So this looks like it was quite the firefight. Which one is that? That's those laces. So let's do those laces. Paste that in. Do this. And we're just going to try to get some blood on those laces as well. Okay, this one. Paste. And this one, let's use different brush. There we go. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. And all this is procedural, so it's easily removed. Well, I mean, the mask you can unmask. So, there we go. And of course, if they walked through a lot of blood, you could put blood at the bottom of the sole. So, however you want to do it. If we come back to 1 and say we wanted the mud on top, that's going to eat up a lot of that blood, but, you know, this mud looks dried out. So, you could decide, did the blood come first or the mud come first? It's entirely up to you. All right. And of course, where is our tongues are 13, so our brass as well. Did we get any blood on there? Yeah, we got a little bit of blood on the brass when we did the tongues. Maybe use a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is, let's go to 13. I'm going to hit F1 and select our mask. And we can get some of these nice, what's this one here? Might be a little much, but let's see. Yeah, it's a little crazy. Let's do this one. And we can just start to bloody some of these. I don't know which ones they were. Now some of these might be under the pants, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's go to full screen here. Hit F2, then hit Tab. Okay, let's check our channels. Hit C. So we got some good stuff going on here now. I don't know why it looks like my blood is actually going inward on this part. Let's see. Except it doesn't look like that from here, so who knows. That's our albedo base color. That is gnarly. Okay. That's our height map. That is the roughness map. That is cool. Metallic. There's our normal map, and there's a normal plus height plus mesh. So there we go. Let's save. And then we can do a test render. And then I think I'm going to call it done. So let's render this. Get iRay going here. Give it a sec. Oh yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm digging this. I'm digging it. So like I said before, I'm not someone that would consider myself a texture artist. I know how to texture. Could I have done this in Photoshop? If I didn't have Substance? Sure, yes, but it would have taken me about 10 times as long. It would have been orders of magnitude longer for me to do. Um, so, and it probably wouldn't be this nice because I get frustrated really easy if I have to try to paint stuff by hand. So, Substance really helps in making results like this achievable. Now, a professional texture artist would probably look at this and laugh, but for me, this is actually really nice. So, Substance is it's you really can't beat it if you're not a texture artist, and if you are a texture artist, you can really unlock the potential in it. But it is a really nice piece of software for those of you that are not super duper texture artists like some people are. So I like what we got going on here. The one thing that I did forget to do was to put the blood on the tread. So let's go up top, paste, select our mask here, and just, maybe not so much, just throw in some of those. And let's use one of those splatters. I like this one here. And again, it's all over the place. So I'm going to take off the angle jitter and just have it be downward. And, definitely something I'm going to do is to look for more splatter alphas. Let's angle jitter this one. Okay. Something like that. I don't want to overdo it. I think this person looks like they walked through a slaughterhouse. So this is good. Okay, so I'm going to call this done in Substance. I'm sure there's stuff that I might convince myself to come back and do. But I'm hoping this gave you a good sort of overview of what's possible in Substance. Again, I am not someone that's been using Substance very long, probably about a month and a half, something like that. Um, and I sort of conceptually understand how it works. I still haven't figured everything out. I'm sure there's way better ways to do some of the stuff that I did here. But for someone who does not have that much experience in Substance, I think this looks pretty decent. Um, so highly recommend you play with it. Um, and you've seen basically the whole process of me starting the model all the way through to now texturing to this sort of finished boot. Now, what I want to do next, though, before we end this series, is the bringing everything into Maya for rendering in Arnold. Um, Substance has some nice presets that you can use that make your life easy. The numbering of the UDIMs is very important. That has to be put on the end of the file name, and Substance has a preset for that. So let's go ahead and do that. I've saved, so I can go to File. I can do an Export Textures. Okay, so actually before I do that, let me just, so all that nice normal map details there, everything's good. Okay, so let's go ahead, File, Export Textures, and you'll see here config. If you click over here and scroll up through the list, you'll find Arnold 5 AI Standard. If I was using a single UV tile, that's the one I'd pick. But since I'm using UDIMs, I want to pick Arnold 5 UDIM AI Standard. Okay. I work in TIFF, so I'm just going to change this to TIFF. I'm going to leave it at 8 bits. There's no reason to go any higher than that. And then here we go. So I need to tell it where to save this. So let me just do that real fast. And I would recommend an empty folder just so that all these textures are just stored in that one spot. So here we go. So let's see, in my source images folder, in my boots folder, and I'm going to make a new folder called Bloody Boots. Okay, I'm going to select the folder. You see that it's in Bloody Boots. Now these I can now upgrade to 4K. Okay, I worked at 2K just to keep things snappy, but I can always upgrade now to 4K on all of these because I'm putting out 4K textures. So if we look at this, you see with all of these, for each UDIM and its naming convention, so this is 1012, everything is .1012 on it. And that's important to do that. This is why I use the preset. Otherwise, I'd have had to set this myself. The preset does that for you because that way we know it's going to work in Arnold. Okay, so next thing I want to do is go into configuration because there's a lot of maps here that I don't actually need. So go into configuration, and I'm going to look for that same preset, Arnold 5 UDIM. What I don't need is an emissive. I'm not emitting anything, so I get rid of that. I need, honestly, I don't use the height map because I'm not doing any displacement. So I'm going to get rid of that. All that texture detail, the height values, I'm going to use a normal map for. So you can, by all means, use that. What I will say is if you're going to use the height map, export it as a 32-bit image. You're going to hold more detail in it. But I'm going to stick with normal, roughness, metalness, and base color. And the only real ones that need the metalness are the UDIM with the brass parts. Okay, so all the belt, the lace loops and whatnot. But it's gonna export for all of them. We can just always delete that map. So these are the 4 that I need. Notice that it does not update here, so I got to click off of it and then click back on it, and now it updates. So it uses the mesh name, which at some point I named Boots Updated. So if I don't want that, I could just put Boots in here, or we could use Bloody Boots. How about that? So I'm just gonna copy that because maybe I want some boots that aren't bloody. Okay, so Bloody Boots. And so if we come back here again, it's not going to update. So I just need to select one of the other ones and then go back to that one. Now we have Bloody Boots. Okay, so that is done. If I now hit export, now it's going to take a minute here because again, we're working at 4K. So let's just give that a minute and I will pause the video and be back when it is done. Okay, so when it's done, you get this. You can open the folder. I'm just going to hit OK. Let's go back into Maya now. So let's go back here. And I'm just going to reopen this file because I did combine the threads and stuff earlier. So I'm just going to reopen this. And did I open the right one? Oh, maybe I opened the wrong one. Of course I did. Yeah. So I'm going to open the correct one here. There we go. Continue. There we go. Okay. So now we have our boots. Everything is separate again. So we need to then apply our new shader. So let's go ahead and build that shader. Okay, I'm going to open up my Hypershade. Okay, and I need a new AI standard surface. So I'm going to hit Tab AI standard surface right there. I'm going to call this boot shader. And I'm going to copy this and name the shading group the same with the SG on the end, like that. Okay, for whatever reason, Arnold comes with a 0.8 in the base weight. I have not found out what the reason is. And if you've watched any of Arvid Schneider's video, that guy's like a wizard with Arnold, and he doesn't seem to understand why that is the way that it is. So I just set the weight to 1 right off the bat and be done with it. Okay, so I'm gonna bring up the Bloody Boots directory here. And I'm just gonna select the 1001s. As you can see, 1001 and normal 1001, metalness 1001. Now I don't really need the metalness, but that's okay. Just gonna leave it in there. And then roughness. So base color, metalness, normal, roughness. Okay, so in here I'm just going to drag those in here. Okay, so that's going to bring those in. So let's start with our base color. Gonna move it up here. This one's easy to do. Just out color goes to base color. Now if we select this, color space is sRGB, we can leave that as is. And what I'm going to do here under UV tiling mode, I'm going to set this to UDIM Mari. And you'll see that it'll tell you it found 6 tiles. So it's going to look for the naming conventions, and it found 6 with the 1001, which is correct because we had 6 UDIM tiles. You can generate a preview. This has not been applied to the boot yet, so there's the preview. So if we just select all these parts of the boot and now apply this to the viewport selection, because we generated the preview, we can see the base color, and you can see right there. So you can see it's still very shiny because we don't have our roughness map or anything like that. Okay, so that's base color. Let's go then to roughness. Okay, so we're going to put roughness in here. Now roughness, we're going to plug in the out alpha into specular roughness. You can see that because this is not this out color is a compound value. It's actually 3 values. The out alpha is a single value, so I couldn't plug out color into specular roughness. You see it grays out because that's 3 values coming in, but this only accepts 1. I could plug out color into specular color because it is also it's got 3 values. But here we're using the alpha, and because of that, we need to make sure we set the color space to raw. And then we need to set under color balance, we need to set alpha's luminance because we are using the out alpha here. Okay, so let's collapse this down. What do I want here? Well, there we go. And just close this. There we go. So that's very important. Roughness needs to be raw with alpha's luminance. Metalness, same thing. So metalness again. Oh, and we forgot to do the UV tiling mode in the roughness. So UDIM Mari, it's going to find 6. You can generate the preview if you like. So metalness, again, UDIM Mari, 6 tiles found. And again, we're going to use the out alpha, which goes into metalness. And because metalness is actually higher, I'm going to lower this, something like that. Okay, so again, metalness needs to be raw, and alpha is luminance. Okay, what do we have left? Normal. So the normal map needs to connect to normal camera, but you need a bump node in here. I'm going to use the Arnold AI normal map node. So AI normal map, select that from the list. And I'm just going to move this back, put this here. I'm going to take the out color into input and the out value in the normal camera. Okay, so inside here you have a strength value if you want to increase it. Now some people will invert the Z. I have not needed to do that, but you can try turning on invert Z, which will invert the green value. So normal. We need this to be set to raw, but we don't set alpha's luminance because we're not using that alpha. We're using regular color. So set it to raw. That's very important. And again, we need to set our UV tiling mode, UDIM. It's going to find 6 tiles. So I'm just going to go through and make sure I set the UDIMs on all of them. So this is nice because you don't have to make 6 different shaders. You can just do it all in one, and it's going to apply them using that UDIM tiling mode to all of the parts. So let's look at what this looks like. Now, my boots are gray just because I've got, so I'm going to regenerate this base color one just so that I can see something in here. Okay, so there's our boots. I'm just going to save this file. Okay, with the textures on there. So let's go ahead then and make a new light. Go to Sky Dome Light, and let's put a floor underneath. So I'm just going to make a plane, make it real big. And because my boots were not on the grid, I'm going to just bring this down. I don't know, something like that. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to do just for fun here is I'm going to right click on this plane and apply a favorite material. I put mine in here because I set them as favorite, but I'm going to do an AI shadow matte. So it's going to capture the shadows but make the rest of the plane invisible. And I need to, in my Sky Dome here, I need to plug in a file. So I need to go find an HDR map, see if I can get the same one that we had in Substance, if I remember where I put all of them. So let me see here. What was it called? Let's go ahead and just find that out real quick. Redwall 4K. Okay. So, do I remember where that is? Redwall 4K. There we go. So, I'm going to hit open. And it's going to load it up. Take a second because it is 4K. Okay, so there we have it. I'm going to save again. You always want to save pretty often when you're dealing with rendering. Okay, so just find a good angle on this. And I'm going to save again. And let's go to Arnold, open render view. And let's run render. Now, what it's got to do is convert all those textures into .tx files. So it might take a second here. And there we go. And hopefully we did everything right. And that's what we have. So you can see that my plane is not showing, but the shadows are. It's kind of weird because it looks like it's sitting on the... so let's... Those look like humongous boots on the ground. No big deal. Okay, so what I'm noticing... Actually, it's not too bad. I was going to say my roughness looked a little high, but once the render cleared up, it actually looks okay. Those look like humongous boots. That's actually kind of funny. So the thing I like about Substance is that it'll give you a pretty good approximation of what it's going to look like rendered. And I'm actually okay with this. It actually looks pretty good. So there we go. I keep thinking my roughness is a little high, but then when the render clears up, then it's there's definitely a lot of roughness here because that's how I set it, and there's some here, but it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. Let's go ahead and try a different HDR map. So how about this bridge right here? Oh yeah, let's try that one. So again, some really big boots. Okay, so that blood is looking really good. All right. So I'm actually really happy with this. You know, as with anything, tweaking can still be done, but I'm actually all right. Let's come in a little bit closer and see how well these 4K textures are holding up. So we got some nice mud and stuff there. Okay, our stitching looks really nice. That's better than I thought it was gonna look. That I like that a lot. Let's go down the shoe here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop this. Let's turn up the render size here. So let's go ahead and just do a 1080. Where's 1080? Where's 1080? HD 1080. Okay. So let's start the render again. Set this to 1:1. Okay, so that blood splatters really nice. So you can see because we were working at 2K in the in Substance, a lot of this nice leather detail wasn't really coming through too much. But now at 4K, this is looking much nicer, and so's the stitching. Right, that looks really nice. Could probably drop, increase the roughness on the stitching, but that's easy to do. So this actually stands up to some pretty good close-ups here. Now you could get technical with it and notice that this mud here just sort of stops. And that's absolutely true. But I think I'm good with it because again, oh, and I gotta smooth the loops here. Actually, no, I think they are. I'm actually good with it because this is not a focal point of the little project that this is going to be used in. These are going to be worn by a character, and we're not going to be zooming in. We're definitely not going to be this close to those boots, but it's nice to know that they actually kind of hold up at this range here. So that is quite impressive. So as you can see, my renders aren't taking very long at all. Part of it is because, like I said, I got 2 video cards in this system, RTX cards, so it's actually pretty nice. Very responsive, very snappy. And for Arnold to actually finish the frame completely, I mean, the settings are not great, but it's taken me about 14 seconds is what I'm getting. So there we go. So let's have a close-up of our logo here. Got that blood hanging off it. I like that. I really like that. Got our scratches in there. Yeah, that stitching came out better than I thought. I mean, yes, it's not perfect, but it came out a lot better than I thought it would. So I am truly impressed by Substance. I think I think they knocked it out of the park with this software. Still things that I wish they had, like the ability to paint across UDIM tiles. That'd be nice. I'm sure that'll be coming in some later version, but that would certainly be nice. Let's look at our underside. Oh, you know what? It's not going to let us do it. So I'm going to select well, let me stop the render and let's select our floor plane here, hide it. So plane 1, let's hide that. And for some reason I'm not seeing my logo there, but let's see if it'll come through in the render. Oh, it's because I didn't do the preview for the... There it is. I didn't generate the preview for... Now, I didn't realize that I had blood splatter underneath the shoe when I painted. So let's go ahead and stop that and see. What's that all about? Okay, it's there. It's fine. Stepped on a little bit of blood. Yeah, I'll leave it. Again, not important. And, I may end up putting more anyway, but for right now, that's actually not bad. See that muddy, dried on, crusted mud look? Like that. Now, here looks like the curvature map. I'm not gonna worry about it. So yeah, let's look at the top of the shoe. So this part is pretty shiny. Man, that mud really got in there. Um, if you don't like that, you could just simply take a paint map. You could add a paint uh, mask or whatever. So here, let me show you here. So mud. So in any of these mud layers, if you want, you can just add a paint to it, and then you can paint out those parts. I'm not going to worry about it again. It's not going to probably be too much of an issue. Um, so I am actually quite impressed with this. Let's go again. And let's change our HDR map again to see. Let's see this under different lighting. That's one of the nice things about PBR materials is they tend to work under lots of different types of lighting. So Vatican Road, let's try that one. Let's give that. And notice I haven't smoothed any of these meshes, and they hold up pretty well. So let's go ahead. Yeah, you can see that that's, again, holding up pretty well. I'm going to bring back my ground plane so I can get my shadows. And again, now it looks like I got really big shoes sitting on the sidewalk. I like the look of the brass. Yeah. So that pretty much wraps this up. And just because I'm having so much fun with this, I'm going to change my HDR maps again. Let's see. What do we got? What else we got? The rooftop. What's that one? San Giuseppe Bridge. Oh, that's the one we just did. Signal Hill. I got all these from HDRI Haven. Definitely look into those guys. They're all free, which is amazing. Here, let's go to the beach. So, update. There we go. Pretty nice. Let's look at it from this side. So I'd say they hold up pretty well, even in bright sunlight. And one more. No, that one is horrible. What's this one? Why not? So, like I say, you could always tweak more stuff if you really want to. But I actually like this. I mean, I might do some tweaking. Maybe. But I think you guys get the idea on how this works. So there you are. I think I'm going to call this series of videos done. Sorry it took so long. I know there's like a, I don't know, if it was 6 month gap in there somewhere. Just because, life kind of got in the way. So if you have any comments, suggestions, whatever, please feel free to put them down below in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the series here from modeling through texturing. And I got more stuff coming up, more modeling stuff, more texturing stuff as we go. Now that I'm getting better with Substance, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. So I appreciate you if you managed to watch all the videos. Thank you very much. Appreciate the views. If you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe, comment, etc., etc. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I put up more videos. And there's the final boots. There's the final render. It only took 8 seconds according to Arnold here, which is nice because Arnold usually takes forever. But, thanks for the support, guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video series, which should be coming up here pretty quick. Yeah, I guess that's all I can really say on this one. We got it done finally, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So thanks, bye.